Hi, welcome to Shiloh May. I'm Linda. Well, today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little tree skirt. It's made from a June Taylor Quilt As You Go tree skirt, and as you can see on the pattern there's several different ways you can make it, but I did the simplest. The first thing I did after I cut out my pattern pieces, and you can see they're all triangles, is to starch and press each piece. Now you can make this more quilty, as you can saw on the front of the pattern, is that you can make it more quilty, more striped like, and a couple of different variations. But the fun thing about June Taylor's patterns is that they are called Quilt As You Go, and the pattern is actually printed onto the batting. And this came as a kit. It did not have the fabric, but it did have the instructions. It had a pattern template that I needed. And then again, you can see the blue pattern printed on the batting. So I found that keeping everything trimmed up. So here I'm removing the excess of the batting around the edges. I'm not cutting right on the blue line. I am leaving about an inch outside of that blue line on my tree skirt. And then the instructions. Now, right here I have my backing fabric right side down. I have pressed it so it's nice and flat. I'm adding a little bit of spray adhesive to hold my batting onto my backing. Now my batting is face up, the pattern on it. And again, you want to I sprayed a little bit and then just pressed with my hands, flattened out the batting on top of the fabric, making sure everything was straight. And you can see there I was having a little trouble with my spray. It did not, whoever used it last did not, probably me, did not clean the nozzle, so it wasn't coming out very well. So I chose to go on and use pins. Now, all good seamstresses, when they've making a pattern, they will make sure they're reading it carefully. So here I am trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. I've never made this before. This is my first time. And what it's telling me to do here is to stitch around the blue lines at the top, in the little circle there in the middle, and then also around the outside. And they suggest using a different colored thread so you can see it later when you're all done. All right, now, here I'm actually putting my fabric pieces down. I use 4 different fabric prints, and I've just done them every other one. So I think I had 4 pattern pieces of each print cut out. And I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The secret here is when you lay your pattern, your fabric onto your batting, you want to make sure that it's lined up the edge of your fabric to the blue line that is on the batting. You're not going to stitch on that line. The fabric and the blue line should meet edge to edge. So the edge of on the piece I'm working on right now where my hand is, the red piece, that edge on the right should line up with the blue line there. You see, I'm showing you right there. Okay, so you sew it down and then you finger press or use a roller to press the seam as flat as you can. Do not use an iron. They say an iron will stretch out your batting and you don't want that. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm repeating my pattern here. And I'm back, I just did number 1 again, and now I'm to fabric number 2. Again, I'm going to put right sides together. I have that lined up on the blue line. The edges are on the blue line. And you may have to make a few little adjustments as you go along, but you're using a 1/4 inch seam all the way around on each seam you're pressing. Now I'm trying to show you the back, but you really can't see how it's quilting as you go. And the pattern does suggest you could do some other quilting in between each one of these. So if, like on the stripe I have there, if I wanted to use a free motion quilting, I could do that, but I just left it. I thought it was just really nice as it is with the quilt as you go method. So here I'm just lining it up, showing you. Now the piece on the left, the red piece there, you do not stitch the left side down when you start. You just start on the right side. And this is not a very good photo here, but I'm stitching my 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric, the 2 pieces of fabric, stitching all the way down. And I think I'm just making an adjustment here. All the way down. And most of them I just went to the batting. Okay? Because you're going to end up cutting that off afterwards. And then here we go. I had to cut a thread there. Take out my pins and then fold that, and keeping it flat and pressed, not with an iron, but pressing it is going to make all the difference in the world in how this looks when you're done. But see, I'm just pressing it with my hand, my fingers, making sure the edge of my fabric now lines up with my next blue line. Then I'm going to lay my fabric right sides together. I don't have them right side together yet, but you got to kind of make sure the top is lined up with the blue line at the top too, where the inner circle is. So just line those edges up on the right hand side. And I did pin mine as I went. I didn't want anything shifting, so I made sure the edges were lined up, and then I pinned it in like 3 or 4 places, and then I stitched 1/4 of an inch from the right edge of the raw edges. Okay, and then you're just gonna, once it's stitched, again, you're gonna open it up so the wrong side is against the batting. You're gonna finger press it or use a roller presser and just lay that as flat as you get that seam as flat as you can. This just turned out really nice. It doesn't have, it's not puckered. It just has those nice quilted lines between each fabric print. I'd say the hardest thing about this, and it wasn't even really hard, was putting the binding on the inside circle. So like where the tree skirt goes up around your tree, that putting the binding there was probably the most difficult. But again, the secret there is you need to cut your binding on the bias. So the bias gives it the most stretch, which allows you to get into that little circle. And I don't really show adding the binding on here. So you might go to a different, tutorial to look at how to bind something. But here I am again, just finishing this all up. And you'll see, you'll have a lot of excess, not a lot, but some good chunks of extra fabric there. You can see it on the bottom left that we're going to cut off. And this is my last piece. So here I have sewn it and folded it over, and there are all the pieces stitched together. Isn't it pretty? And how simple was that? All the pieces stitched together. So now what I did was I went around and I pinned the bottom edge and the center circle, and these 2 pieces here, and then I stitched them down. But before I did that, I cut off the excess. So again, I cut the backing fabric to the edge of the batting. Remember, I left the batting about 1 inch long, an inch wider than the tree skirt, and now I'm just cutting that excess fabric off just to get it out of the way. It's going to have to come off sooner or later, so I took it off now. So just got it all cut off, and then I went around. Of course, I had to check my pattern instructions again. It always pays when you're sewing, especially something you've never done before, that you look over your pattern and read it more than once. It's kind of like measure twice, cut once. Okay, so I am pinning. I talked about this a little while ago, but I'm actually pinning the bottom edge to the backing. And so I am pinning it inside that stitching line. I'm showing you, I had a red stitching line right there, and I'm pinning it inside of that so that I can stitch around there. And again, I like to pin or clip or whatever you want to use, but I believe in pinning to keep things straight and even, and so you don't have any puckering. So now I've stitched it all and I have cut it even. I did the inside circle and the outside circle. I have my binding ready, and there's my binding on, and I'm just showing you some quick photos of the inside. There's the back side, and there's the front side. Thanks so much for watching Shiloh May. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I appreciate it.